Hello, and welcome to the Canadian Massage Conference pre-conference broadcast series on Massage Therapy Radio. I'm Felicia Brown, and I'll be your host for this interview and series. This is one of several broadcasts with the presenters and experts who are appearing at the Canadian Massage Conference, brought to you by the One Concept Group, November 4th through 6th, 2011, in Burlington, Ontario, Canada. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the 2011 Canadian Massage Conference sponsors, the Vitality Depot, Lackner McClellan Insurance, Massage Therapy Canada Magazine, Biotone, Massage Warehouse, the Registered Massage Therapists Association of Ontario, and Hand and Stone for making this year's event possible. Our special guest today is Anita Shannon. Anita and I will be talking about her 3-hour class at the Canadian Massage Conference. MediCupping produces radical results for cellulite, solid bloat, and wellness. But before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about Anita. Anita Shannon has been a licensed massage therapist and a licensed cosmetologist since 1983. She has been a national educator since 1990, appearing at numerous national spa and massage conventions each year, and has presented numerous workshops on ACE massage cupping and MediCupping since developing these brands of bodywork in 2002. Anita is also the Director of Advanced Continuing Education and is an NCB TMB CE provider. Anita has published articles in Massage Today, Massage Magazine, Les Nouvelles Esthétiques, as well as a number of educational videos, and is currently writing a book on vacutherapies. Her newest efforts include the Pink Cup Project for breast health and cancer recovery, and TheraCupping, home care products and education. Anita, welcome to the Canadian Massage Conference pre-conference broadcast series. As always, I'm really excited to talk to you and, of course, learn about your class. MediCupping produces radical results for cellulite, solid bloat, and wellness.
Oh, thanks, Felicia. I'm real excited to be here, and we're always excited to be part of the Canadian Massage Conference and the pre-conference broadcast series. You guys really provide quite a service to people, both through your shows and through Massage Radio. So thanks for having me.
Well, as I said, we're really glad to have you, and I'm always excited to learn more about this topic, especially now that I've had a chance to receive some of this work from you. But before we get into that, I'd like to ask you, why did you want to become involved with the Canadian Massage Conference again this year?
Well, we really love reaching out to the whole world, and we really enjoy the wide variety of healthcare professionals who are excited about this work, from doctors in France to Canadian therapists who have such a strong, foundation of knowledge and such thorough training. The quality of the therapists in Canada allows them to really take our work to a real high level very quickly. So we're real excited to be there again this year.
Now, are there any events or activities that you're looking forward to at this year's Canadian Massage Conference?
Well, definitely the fact that I get to teach twice. I've got the 1 hour on Friday and 3-hour presentation on Sunday. And we really just love being in the booth on the exhibit floor so much. We really get to talk with a lot of interesting therapists and vendors. And then, of course, there's your wonderful, dance parties and events and everything you do to make the vendors feel so welcome and, just really bring the group together.
Well, you're not kidding. It's such a fun conference to go to as a professional, an educator or a vendor, as well as an attendee. I know I've heard lots of comments about that from people that are going to be there presenting, and I'm sure this year will be no exception as to the amount of fun we're all going to have there.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, Anita, let's start by just having you tell everyone what MediCupping is and how you became interested in this modality.
Well, I actually developed MediCupping based on the work we began with the manual cup sets. The manual cups are a really old tool, and we simply created techniques for using it for modern applications. We found that the MediCupping machine made the biggest difference in credibility when we approached the medical community. There are some preconceived notions about cupping that are associated with the manual equipment. The machine also gave us a wider range of movements which increased our protocols, which gave us even more versatility when approaching the different conditions that clients present.
Excellent. And, having had this work from the manual cup and the machine, I can definitely tell the difference between the two of them. But it's interesting to note that the machine actually made a difference in people giving it that credibility or thinking it was a more valid therapy.
Well, the nice thing with the machine, too, just some unique things is we did have one person come to the class, just had really broken her arm badly and just was working one-handed. And we encouraged her to come to the workshop. Not only did she find that she could go back to work a lot earlier because she could work with it one-handed.
Wow.
Also, she found the benefit for herself in the class, the range of movement, the increased flexibility, everything of the entire limb really helped her recover so much more quickly.
Wow.
It was fun.
That's exciting.
Yeah, that was fun. That was really neat to see her come in, with such a look of pain on her face, and then by the time the 3 days was over, just the biggest smile,
Well, that's awesome, and that kind of result is definitely something that people want more of. Is that the type of reason that there's a resurgence of interest in vacuum therapy, or are there other reasons behind that?
There's a lot of good reasons, but I think that you really hit the nail on the head. I think that there's right now a lot of interest in any protocol that shows such quick and intense results. The neat thing is with this is the work speaks for itself, and the broad range of applications allow a therapist of any orientation to use the technique. Someone who does neuromuscular work can use vacuum therapies just as effectively for what they're doing as a person who does body contouring. So it's really malleable. That's what's really fun about it.
That's a great point. And I'm just thinking about the therapist you were mentioning being able to use that one-handed. To me, that sounds like it could actually really add some longevity to someone's career, someone who might be feeling the aches and pains of a decade or two doing massage or other manual therapies, that this is something that can take some pressure off of them and make their career last longer.
Most definitely. As you said in my bio, I've been doing this since the early 80s. I mean, that's a good long haul here, and I don't think I would still be doing body work if I didn't have a tool like this that had made things so much more, so much easier. And I did have to work one-handed one time. I got bitten by a copperhead in my right hand, and none of my clients really ever knew that I was that severely injured because I used the cup in that hand and used the other hand for the other work.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Well, that speaks volumes about how effective this really is if they couldn't even tell the difference.
No, it's really nice. It really alleviates a lot of strain on the practitioner, and the quick results bring a lot of new clients and referrals too. I'm
sure. Well, we could go on about that all day long, but I think people are really probably curious about the term solid bloat. So can you explain that term and how it relates to body work in general?
You bet. Solid bloat is caused by inflammation, and this literally cooks the water out of the body and leaves very dehydrated lymph and tissues. Now, these inflamed tissues below the lymph level become dehydrated down to a cellular level, and basically any elimination of waste ceases. I mean, you're getting kind of a picture of a dry sponge here with a thick coating over it. The original inflammation can be from an injury, like a sprained ankle, a break. It could be from a compromised organ. Let's say you have issues with your colon. It could be repetitive muscular stress, could be chemical in nature, something like anesthesias, medications. Can also have origins in the immune system. So this is not just for body contouring. This is a really serious issue that explains restriction in movement, compensatory body mechanics, chronic edema, even neuropathies, circulatory issues, and a lot more. So solid bloat is something that every therapist needs to look at. It's not just cellulite. This is something that you're going to find on so many of your clients, and beneath it you're going to find rock-hard tissue, and it's not contracted tissue. It's just dry and congested. Does that kind of feel like the tissue most of us touch when
Right.
we're working on clients?
Right. So how does vacuum therapy address the issue of solid bloat then?
Well, the one thing with this is vacuum therapies create vasodilation in the skin. So when you put a vacuum cup on somebody, you see it get red. That's the vasodilation. So this is one of the best mechanisms for releasing latent inflammation from the tissues underneath. This is why this, solid bloat kind of forms a blanket and even keeps the inflammation, in the tissue. So this heat that we created, it's coming up through the little blood vessels, liquefies the solid bloat. It kind of melts it down for us. So this is how we can use the cup then to move all of that stagnation to an appropriate drainage site. So doing this with your hands to stimulate the vasodilation, you would have to be pretty aggressive in your movements. We used to use dry brushing for this, or you would have to add more heat. You'd have to use a thermophore or some kind of other heat application. So this is pretty neat. The vacuum, actually works to liquefy all of the bloat, and now you can move it.
So basically, just to clarify, make sure I understand what you're saying, by creating that vasodilation, you're allowing the heat of that to, the blood vessels are carrying away some of the inflammation there, but the heat of that is melting it or allowing it to be carried away.
Right. They've done this with other, infrared waves, iontophoresis. There's been techniques out there for years on how do we liquefy what they call the fat layer. This is not fat, though, and I think that that's where the focus went wrong and why a lot of those were not very successful. We really have to recognize that people may not be fat. They might just be really bloated. And when I can liquefy that on somebody, when I can take a saddlebag is the best word for it on the thigh, and use the cup, heat the area up, and then move what I've liquefied into the drainage, the lymphatic drainage system, and then have the person stand up, and you can see the difference in the one leg that used to have the saddlebag and the other one that still does. So it's right in front of you. You can see it liquefy and move. It's really fascinating.
Wow, now I've been on your table a couple of times, and I've had it done for different reasons. I have some, as you know, I have some restriction in my rib cage from cracking my ribs twice, once on each side. And, what you did with me was very amazing as far as the effect it had. But now I'm like, how come I didn't get this other treatment? Like, Anita, you didn't tell me I should be getting this on my thighs. I'm thinking all about restriction in my rib cage, but now I know what my next demo is going to be on.
You bet. Your rib cage really is the premier issue for you, for breathing and movement, which is for most everybody. Then we can definitely go into those other areas. And the fun thing is we can show you how to do that at home with silicone cups in the shower and things like that. The maintenance is quite easy. And the nice thing is once we clear these areas for people, now the homeostatic mechanisms can come into play. Now the tissue can regulate itself. That sprained ankle from 20 years ago that's still all congested with old lymph and all of the crystallization in there from the old injury, now that ankle can move around again. So that's also solid bloat. It's all of that old debris from injuries, surgeries, things like that.
Well, I know that we've mentioned a couple of specific injuries. You talked about the woman with the broken arm and just now the ankle, and then, of course, me with my cracked ribs. What other types of conditions would this be beneficial for, or, what kind of client would be interested in getting this type of work? Wow.
We have had applications in this for everything from, Olympic athletes have been using this. Because along with the solid bloat, we've got another condition in here that causes restrictions. Old blood, which is trapped in the tissues and trapped between the fascia, is also considered this congestion and solid bloat. So this can kind of act like a glue, and it will bind the fascia and the muscle fibers. So this is when people see those discolorations coming up on their skin. this is old blood congestion, something from a very old injury, and we can actually tell how old on many people by the colors it turns. And that brings a whole broad range of applications for rehabilitative therapies for, old injuries, to working with athletes. Some of my favorite applications, though, I have to say, are working with issues like diabetes, things like that. People lose their feet, they lose their hands, their feet, because of neuropathy and because of lack of blood flow. One of the things we've been able to do is clear out that old stagnation. That is also solid bloat. Think of the inflammatory level of a person with diabetes.
Right.
Their body's constantly inflamed. They're also in a very acid state, and there's much evidence out there to show that this vacuum work actually helps the body retain and maintain an alkaline pH. So it affects their condition on such a deep and profound level. Again, solid bloat is epidemic and is involved in almost every condition people present you with. From cancer, we do a lot of work with oncology. Solid bloat even is around scar tissue. Imagine all of the old debris that's trapped around an incision site or an old injury. So it's, again, the word malleable comes up. This therapy can be applied to almost anything that people bring to you. We give you evaluation criteria. This is how you develop your protocol, not based on their disease, but on their specific evaluation. It makes it pretty easy.
Well, I don't even, I'm sure you're going to go into some of that in your class so that people are familiar with some of that evaluation and getting a good introduction to what they would learn in a longer class with you. Are there any particular settings? I mean, you mentioned cancer as one potential issue. Are there any particular settings that this modality is good for? I mean, would it be appropriate for a hospital setting or spa? Where do you think it works best, or is it anywhere?
Actually, anywhere. Over in France, we've got pediatricians that have trained with us. They're using it for children. We've got a lot of work here in Asheville. My husband runs a medical massage practice here, and he works directly with the orthopedic surgeons, and we're also involved with one of the hospitals here in their new oncology ward and wellness center. So the hospitals are really starting to look at this. That's why MediCupping, was the name we gave it, and vacutherapy, so that, they understood that this is for medical application. So we also we trained one of the Canyon Ranch spas. Again, my husband runs a private practice here and does really well with it. Everyone who's trained with us really is so unique in their practice and what they do. We did go into one hospital wellness center in Chicago and also train. So whatever your orientation is, this will really fit in quite well with it, and it's accepted quite well, especially because of the machine.
I'm sure. Well, I know I'll just tell everybody listening that after having a session with Anita, I thought, gosh, I want to bring this into my practice simply so I can use the machine on myself. That's really, I'm selfish about it. I'll be honest, I have pain in my body and I want to feel better. And it was really amazing the difference in how I felt after having just maybe a 10-minute session on the area of my rib cage where it's been sort of bothersome. So, I can see it applying to a lot of different reasons or to a lot of different settings. But for me, in my private massage practice, I thought, well, if I bring it in for myself, then I can use it on my clients too.
Definitely.
Funny.
And the more you use it on yourself, the more you'll better understand how to use it on your clients. We really encourage people to work on themselves with it. It's a quick fix too. And in the middle of the day when you're tired and your forearms are aching and you've got 2 more clients, this is a great and really quick way to treat yourself, because self-care is suffering. In our industry, we've got to remember that when we're feeling that pain, address it. But it's nice to have a tool that's this quick.
Oh, for
when
sure.
When my client's getting on the table, I can be in there, working my forearms to stretch them out again and get them ready.
Yes, definitely. I can see all kinds of possibilities for bringing a machine into your practice for self-care and then just using it to augment other modalities. I am curious, though, and I don't remember if you've answered this for me before or not, but people are probably wondering, do you do an entire treatment protocol with this, or is it something that you integrate into other modalities or sessions?
That's a good one. It works both ways. My husband works it into his other work. I do full treatments on people. Some people do very short sessions with it in chiropractors' offices. Others of us, we have people coming in for a series of full treatments, on a regular basis for a short period of time. It does adapt in really well as an add-on to a service menu. And also, we will teach you in the classes whole treatments with it. So when you've got somebody in a severe condition like obesity and you're working with a bariatric surgeon, you can take them through these full treatments and really make a huge difference for them and really assist them, in achieving their goals. So it's pretty neat. We can show you how to integrate this into your personal practice too.
And something you just said, Anita, you said working with a bariatric surgeon, then it sounds like with this type of work, you don't necessarily have to be in a medical setting, but maybe you can partner with physicians who are understanding of this type of work and the benefits that it offers?
Definitely. My husband built a full-time practice in probably about 8 months, and he's got a private office here in our facility on top of a mountain. People come all the way up this mountain to come and see him because the doctor said, here's your prescription, go. And it's amazing. The doctors are so amazed at what Mike, my husband, can do for their clients that they have no problem, writing up prescriptions and telling people, you have to do this. This is part of your protocol. We just got an email from one of our students that she took this so far in, working on women post-mastectomy that she actually won a grant. And she is now doing this work, pro bono for women who have, had mastectomy work done. So the physicians and, these foundations that are awarding grants are seeing that there is something really special here that we can do within the medical community. That doesn't mean we have to move in their offices.
Right. And most therapists that I know, at least in the U.S., I don't know, Canada is a little different, but in the U.S., people like their independence. They don't really they don't mind the referrals, but they don't want to be under somebody else's umbrella or necessarily their command. So that independence is important to a lot of people.
And I think even if we are located in a physician's office, once they find out what we can do, the doctors do not direct, my husband on what he should do for the person. They just tell him what to address and go from there. So I think, it really does give a lot of autonomy, especially if you are very skilled with this. You can really work some miracles. I hate to say it that way, but it's really fun.
Well, I can really see that happening. As I said, having experienced some of the work and heard some of your stories about people that have had such profound effects, I can see how it would be, quote unquote, a miracle in some cases. One other question that I wanted to ask you about, I know that you just were talking about the post-mastectomy work. Now, I know the last time I saw you, you were showing some cups that could be used for home care. And recently I've been talking to a client of mine who's gone through mastectomy and is looking for ways to do some self-care. She's just not ready to come and see someone else. Is there self-care or home care available for that type of thing and any kind of supporting, DVD or literature that you provide?
We do have some really great equipment. We are putting together a special DVD for post-mastectomy care, and we really felt that we needed to bring a specialist in who has been trained in this to a greater degree than I have been. So we just found, as we worked with it, what the cups could do. But I think on something this important, I need somebody to help us with this DVD and make sure that we make no mistakes and do not do anything that could,
right,
create any problems for people in home care. And just, be sure that everybody's going to watch the DVD before they use the equipment. But
Right.
the cups are just really sweet, and they're soft and clear, and there's a limit to the suction you can create. There will come a point post-mastectomy, though, where you really will need to go to one of our therapists for, specific work that you won't be able to do with the soft silicone cups. Some of the scar work, some of the lifting off of the rib cage, but I think working on ourselves, these are great to use in the shower with soap and water, too, so it makes it easy for women and men who have had mastectomies to do it. But I think once you've worked on yourself and desensitized the area a little bit, it makes it easier to go to a practitioner and know that you're not going to be put into any more pain or discomfort.
Right. Once, getting over that initial touch there, maybe just becoming familiar with your own body a little bit more, since it has changed tremendously in most cases with that type of surgery. I think that's really powerful, and I'm just excited that there's a resource out there for people, and especially, you said the DVD's in production. You're working on that. Yeah,
yes,
when that comes out, I think that'll be a great resource for people.
I think so, too, and all of this will occur on the Pink Cup Project site, which will be linked to all of our other sites, and we really strongly suggest that someone who has had the procedure look into our network of professionals who this is what they do is, like this one student who got the grant, or I should say one graduate practitioner who got the grant. They're very gentle and nurturing. They've been well trained and can really help somebody quickly, overcome some of the issues that this presents.
Excellent. Now, Anita, is there any other advice that you would have for students who are interested in learning more about MediCupping or taking your class?
Well, I think the biggest thing is do take the class. Make sure that you do get the training to really use this to its best potential. The DVDs are great support material. Some people start out with them first and practice on themselves, then come to class. Other people do it the opposite way. Everybody learns differently. But do, watch. We're updating our websites. There's going to be even more information available to you. When you become certified, we're going to be opening up a lot more information to you and a lot more resources, of support in, let's say you decide to specialize in, breast cancer and post-mastectomy. There's going to be a whole network in here to support you. So definitely get your training, keep on training and playing with it, and stay hooked in with other practitioners, who are using this modality.
Excellent. Now, I'm sure a lot of people listening are going to want to take your class, or they're going to be at the Canadian Massage Conference and have a chance to meet you, but not everyone will. So will you please share your websites and any other relevant contact information so people can find out other places where they can get in touch with you or come see you?
Oh, great. You can. We have quite a few websites and a couple more coming up, but the main ones are MassageCupping.com and MediCupping.com. The home care site is TheraCupping.com. And we'll be coming out with a couple new sites also that are directional, more informational, things that you can send your clients to and help explain what this work is so that they don't confuse it with some of the traditional cupping therapies that are out there.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. For anybody that's interested in coming to the Canadian Massage Conference and enrolling in Anita's class, I'm going to share that information with you right now. Of course, the Canadian Massage Conference is Canada's largest exhibition of massage products, continuing education, and new business opportunities for therapists of all disciplines. This year's conference will feature over 50 exhibitors, continuing education classes of 1 hour, 3 hour, and 1 day workshops, including Anita's, also Friday and Saturday night receptions, and a private dance party at Club 54's Retro Room, which is adjacent to the conference hotel. The registration cost for the conference is just $40, which includes admission to the trade halls and all 1 hour presentations, participation in raffles, and giveaways of literally thousands of dollars in prizes, between class coffee breaks, and loaded goodie bags. Attendees will also have access to many special offers and promotions from the vendors and exhibitors, as well as the chance to have a fantastic time with friends and colleagues. Now, for students, the conference offers a free Student Day and Smart from the Start program on Sunday, which is sponsored by Massage Warehouse and the Registered Massage Therapists Association of Ontario. This day is dedicated to massage therapy students who are currently enrolled in school or who graduated in 2011 and includes a free gift bag for the first 250 students. Also on Sunday, the RMT Career Fair, sponsored by Hand & Stone, will be held from 1 to 3 p.m. and is free to all registrants, including students. All of this is happening at the Conference Hotel. That's the Burlington Holiday Inn, and I definitely suggest you make plans to stay there if possible. Single or quad rates are just $121 a night, but space is limited. So if you're planning to stay there, please make your reservations now. Also, Massage Therapy Canada is printing the Canadian Massage Conference event program inside one of their magazines. This will be given out at the conference and distributed throughout Canada to over 5,000 registered massage therapists. So if you are a vendor or an educator who is listening in today and you want to get some great exposure for your products or classes, please contact Christine Livingstone at Massage Therapy Canada for details on being a part of the conference program. Now, if you're ready to register for the Canadian Massage Conference, November 4th through 6th in Burlington, Ontario, meet Anita and the other amazing presenters at this year's event, there are now 2 ways to do so. First, you can register online and pick your courses instantly at the official conference website at www.canadianmassageconference.com. You can also register by phone. Your call is free, and operators are waiting just for you at 877-387-9111. That's 877-387-9111. We also invite you to stay connected with us on Facebook at facebook.com/Canadian Massage Conference. Again, the 2011 Canadian Massage Conference is made possible by all of our wonderful sponsors. Thank you so much to the Vitality Depot, Lackner McClellan Insurance, Massage Therapy Canada, Biotone, Massage Warehouse, the Registered Massage Therapists Association of Ontario, and Hand & Stone. I hope after today's broadcast, everyone listening is ready to come to the Canadian Massage Conference and register for Anita's class, MediCupping Produces Radical Results for Cellulite, Solid Bloat, and Wellness. Anita, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today and sharing your vast knowledge on MediCupping. We're really looking forward to seeing you at the Canadian Massage Conference, and I hope I can get on your table again.
Oh, I hope you can, too. We will make a point of it. Maybe you can be the demo for class.
Ooh, we'll have to see if that works out, but count me in.
Thank you so much for having me on the program. I really appreciate it, and I'm so looking forward to seeing you all in November.
Well, likewise, Anita, it's our pleasure to have you. Everyone, this is Felicia Brown, and on behalf of everyone from the Canadian Massage Conference and Massage Therapy Radio, I want to thank you for tuning into this broadcast of the Canadian Massage Conference pre-conference broadcast series. Please remember to tune in each Monday through October 31st for more interviews and to visit massagetherapyradio.com for replays of all the interviews in this series. We look forward to seeing you in Ontario in November. Please also consider joining us for the American Massage Conference, April 20th through 22nd, 2012 in San Diego, California. Thanks again for tuning in, and have a fabulous day.